Languages in education. An important aspect of language policy and planning is looking at which languages will be used in education. Coming to this aspect, language planning at school level also needs a number of steps, a number of aspects that need to be thought about. You have Kaplan and Beltoff 1997 that highlight these aspects, and they say if we are going to use any language within education, either as a medium of instruction or as language that needs to be taught to the students during the school, then we need to determine what those languages are and what role will those languages have in the curriculum. Then we need to identify the teachers who are able to actually teach those languages and what are we exactly looking for. Are we looking for native teachers only, or do we think that those teachers who have learned that language as a second language will be appropriate to teach that language? And then, of course, it also leads us to the question of determining who will learn those languages. Will it be offered to everyone? At what level will it be offered? Do the students have to pay extra to access that language? Or do they have a choice of which language they might want to learn? Or can we afford to give them that kind of choice? So this has to be determined. Once we have done that, it takes us to the question of the model or the methodology that is to be used. Please remember that this, and I am sure that as learners of this MPhil course of ELT, you would know that there are several models and several types of methodologies that might be used to teach a language, and a methodology, it has to be suited to the purpose of teaching that language. So nothing is right or wrong as long as you know what the purpose is and you're clear about the rationale of how it links up to what you want to do at the end. Once you have decided that, then comes the question of who will design the whole course. How will it be used? How will it be disseminated in terms of the teachers within a school, or if it is a school system across the group, across the whole school system? Will the lesson plans be made by one person and given it to everyone, or will the teachers make their own individual lesson plans? What about material design? Are we going to just import the materials that are out there, or will we sort of have to make those materials culturally sensitive? These are all the questions that we need to keep in mind. And then we come to this very important aspect of assessment. How will we assess the processes of language teaching? And what about the testing, or what about the placement test? How will we decide if the kind of syllabus we are using to teach a student, is the child somehow prepared for that level of instruction or not? Will we take some placement tests for it and sort of place the student in different groups? Are we going to teach in terms of heterogeneous groups or homogeneous groups? That is, students of the same ability sit together to learn a course, or different ability students sit together to learn the same syllabus. Again, formative assessment. Do we want to test at the end of the course regarding the abilities that the students have developed in terms of language skills, or do we not just we just want to teach them and we don't want to assess it? What about the formative testing? That is, as the learner learns a language, you have these small tests that go along the year, and this allows you to readjust your teaching methodology. At what points will they be held? what will they comprise of? Will they also include speaking? Will it also have a listening component? All those things go over there. Then what about the assessment processes for teacher performance? How will you assess whether the teacher is doing a good job or not? Will it only come from the learning outcomes of the students, or do you want to actually see the process of teaching and learning also? And then what about the assessment of the systems in place? This whole designing of the material, this dissemination of the plans or the lesson plans, what about assessing them, whether they are successful or not? And of course, it also takes us to this question of physical infrastructure, financial support. So apart from human resource, we also need to look at those things. So do we have that kind of support available to help our learners learn a specific language or not? Whatever we do, keeping in mind all those aspects, please remember the language that a teacher or the language that the school as a whole chooses as a medium of instruction, or the languages that the school chooses to teach their students, actually defines the whole education system. And who would know more about it than we, who clearly know the difference between English medium and Urdu medium? So please remember, it's not that those schools that are teaching in a vernacular are bad. It's only the ideologies that are at work that somehow lead you to think about it in that way, because the role of languages in establishing power hierarchy is very strong.